Hi, everyone, and welcome to Fan Commentary. Now, this was a turning point episode for Power Rangers in Space in a lot of ways, and a lot of fan favorites, including mine. I think it's the perfect example of when Power Rangers takes an element, meaning Darkona's character, from Super Sentai, which is completely different to what they do in PR, because he replaced the main character, Dr. Hinolar, because he failed at his job, so he was technically the main baddie in the second half of the series. And we don't do anything with that. He's just a minion for Astronema, and he has all these rivalries. And they worked him into an original story that PR came up with Astronema's backstory as Karone. It's how you're supposed to use Sentai footage. You don't have to directly copy a story all the time. That's what I loved about In Space. When they came up with some idea, they did it. And they were like, well, we still have to stick to XXX footage and use them in XX reasons. And they did. Darkona's still an enemy against Ecliptor because they never worked with each other in the Mega Ranger footage. He hates the Rangers because of all the various reasons. And, he's still a conniving monster character in Mega Ranger, and they just took all the key elements that was shown on camera, and then they worked all the US stuff into it. In this particular episode, majority of it is US footage. And whenever they needed to, use the Megazord footage, they just picked a monster, they picked a story that was not important, and they just took it. It's a good conundrum between the two characters because Andros obviously hates everything and wants to kill him, but he's like, I need to know who my sister is. Where is she? Is she alive? Is she dead? So it's a conflict between, Darkona wants to manipulate him so much that he might kill him or maybe even trick him into going to his side because if he goes to that one step, he might, turn out to be what Astronema did. I still hate that Justin Nimmo was basically removed from the majority of the season. I understand why. It's because of the whole Mega Ranger footage and lack of. So they had to write him out. It just sucks because when you get rid of the sixth Ranger of a show, it's wrong because he's already not in the majority of the first half of the series. So then when you take him out, it just feels like he was there as a plot point most of the time. I love how he just screws with his mind all the time. It's a really good way to make a villain. It's just like you want to hurt your ranger physically and emotionally so that he can't think straight. I hate that when he slides his sword down. It's like you have no hilt. There's nothing there for you to lock it on. It should just disappear inside the magic pocket behind your back. It's also interesting that this episode actually showed to set up his plan. Most PR episodes never show the plan of the villain, even sometimes the plan of the heroes. They'll just simply, you'll see what happens and you'll just put it together. And here, it's kind of interesting because it just shows you how conniving Darkona is in the series. Although he laughs a lot in these scenes. I also think this is also important to Ecliptor's character because this is where I believe where Ecliptor should have not been killed at the end of the season from Zordon's wave. He's the one who actually took Astronema in and teached her some positive values. Of course, he's still working under Dark Spectre's control, and he couldn't be like, I'm going to make her good. He had to keep her evil. But this is where I was like, yeah, he should have gotten a second chance. This I also found very weird. Why does he have a picture of himself as a young kid? Who does that? I mean, The only explanation I can get is that he's an alien and that's what they do. You have a picture of all family members, including yourself. It just feels very odd. I'm also glad that they actually reshot this instead of using the original footage that they did in the earlier episodes, because most shows, they never, like, they'll just reuse the initial footage and then never bother filming the additional stuff back. Now, of course, everyone will remember this story element was redone in RPM, and a lot of people don't like that. And, I understand why. I never had an issue with them reusing RPM because what happened is Eddie Gazillion, who was the original producer, came up with the story, and I seriously doubt he watched all the PR episodes through and through in order to get ready. He of course watched various episodes, but I don't see him just going up to space and like, oh, I'm gonna copy that idea. It was just a coincidence, and I still think it was good. That element from RPM, yes, it is a copy, but this is what happens from a long running series. You're going to have episodes that copy them, regardless if you have a new writer or not, and they could be completely oblivious to stuff that came in the past, and they'll come up with nearly the exact same story. Now, do I want to see it again? Copied the whole, secret sister thing? No. If it happens a third time, I will start complaining that, PR is ripping off story ideas, and then there's no one there to double check this element. The one thing I really hate, though, is that, they use the ploy of the Power Rangers killed your family, and it's just like, which Power Rangers? Because for you to be killed, like, when you were 8, which is probably a decade or so, that's even before the MMPR Rangers. So which Rangers were you, for? It never really made any sense, especially when she says you killed them. Andros. It's like Andros would be double his age for him to be the one who killed your parents. It really didn't make any sense. But again, it kind of makes sense in the sense that Dark Spectre is under taking control of Astronema's brain, so she doesn't realize that mistake. But it does feel like it's obvious that, like, why don't you notice this? I like how his name is Andrew and her name is Karen. You got to make it very obvious. You have to explain it to a degree. I just wish they would have kept it a little more subtle, but it just shows you it's just like, why is this Red Ranger helping them, and then but he's the one who killed my parents, but why is he helping them? It doesn't really make any sense. So it's very confusing, and this is why Astronema acts on instinct rather than, the brainwashed mind control that Dark Spectre has her under. It's like her first moment of thinking straight. Kind of got annoyed at Andros actually falling for this because he just literally left the Rangers on their own. The Galaxy Glider should have had a shadow over there. I also love how this episode uses the action to tell the story because this is a major reveal to everyone, including Andros, and but it's all action, and this is how you do it. Instead of just making an episode around action, this is helping toward the story. I wish more episodes did this, but a lot of times PR just focuses on the action, and that's where it suffers. Of course, you have to have action. Every show, action adventure show, has to have action, but you have to have a purpose to that action. And I do like that he actually thinks for a moment. So it's kind of he's still manipulating him and trying to do what Ecliptor and Dark Spectre did to Astronema. Maybe try to turn him over. It's possible. He's still trying to the bitter end. That's why Darkona's a really good character. He's not just evil for the sake of evil. He has his reasons. And of course, even if he fails, he's like, well, I'm still going to try to blow him up. I like this how the Galaxy Glider's still here. That's nice. I didn't even have to do that, but that's a nice little detail. Although I still kind of think Ecliptor could have sabotaged the Galaxy Glider and got Andros killed or something. I like how even though Ecliptor was doing something good, he still wanted to get Darkona killed. So in a way, he was trying to do two birds with one stone, which I like. I wonder how many takes did it in order to get that locket to fly off her neck without hitting her, and then also this shot of getting tangled on the debris. Now, in the original Japanese episode, this had a completely different story, and most of the Megazord fight had to cut it out. It's okay. It doesn't. It's not hindered in any way. You can get around it. That's why they chose this monster, and it was fine because they could have easily had done this episode, but I'm glad they didn't. They were like, well, let's just use what footage we can and just use it for this episode. This is where it kind of doesn't make any sense because they're cutting around certain material they had to cut out. There is people that are helping them on the ground level. You actually can see it for a little bit. So they have to try to, cover it up with Cassie doing all the work. And that's why if you pay attention, you can also see that they reuse footage, they rewind it, they slow it down because they have to cut around these things. And that's why the Sonic scanner works, doesn't work, it fixes itself. Right there, you can see that someone's actually supposed to be helping them down. That's why he's constantly keeps looking down. This always kind of annoyed me because it's like, okay, the Rangers were in the Megazord fight. Why did an Astronema attempt to find the locket? It's just like it fell really close by. It's just like, how did she not find it within those few minutes? She should have already gotten the locket and gone away. It's also another little plot hole is that, okay, Dark Spectre doesn't want her to remember, yet she allowed her to keep that locket and or stay here. He could have easily ordered her never to go back from the locket or get rid of the locket. At least they're consistent with the whole, keeping pictures of yourself. I like how fast Andros accepts this because it's like, I can't deny it. It is her locket and it is my locket. Again, Astronema, your math doesn't work. He would be twice his age, assuming people from KL35 age similar to people from Earth, but he would be twice his age. I really hated how Darkona keeps surviving these, death moments in the series. It always annoys me when you have a character constantly survive, it's like he's gonna finally die, or you hate them so much and then they're just not dead, and it's just like it's such a cliche. I've gotten, so annoyed at it. I pretty much never assume, a main character is, killed off. I assume they're not dead. They're going to come back to life a few episodes later, and I never can actually buy it when someone finally dies unless it's like the series finale. Yeah, or she can use it against you and trick you. which is the thing that he doesn't think of either. I think this preview gave a little too much away for the next episode. It's difficult to get a preview to not spoil too much, but it's just like you shouldn't have shown that bit. You should have kept it ambiguous that she was giving him in a trap. I wish more shows did this where the morphers knocked off their wrist or out of their hand. And I really miss the blooper reels for the series. It's just like I get it that we can't even show credits anymore. They're stuck at the corner, but it would be nice that if you get the master copy, from on a DVD or whatever, and you could see the full credits. It would be nice if they included the bloopers from the series again.